Hey there, smart garden family. Welcome back to another deep dive into the world of sustainable gardening. Have you ever wondered if your compost pile could be working harder for you? What if I told you there's a secret to unlocking nutrient-rich soil faster, or even with less effort? Today we're settling the ultimate debate that's been brewing in gardens worldwide: cold versus hot composting. So, prepare to unearth the truth and transform your gardening game. Because understanding these two methods could be the difference between mediocre soil and the black gold that makes your plants absolutely thrive. Composting isn't just about reducing waste or being environmentally conscious, though those are wonderful benefits. It's about creating a living, breathing ecosystem in your backyard that feeds your soil, which in turn feeds your plants, which ultimately feeds you and your family. Whether you're a seasoned gardener planting your spring beds here in November 2025 or someone who's just starting their gardening journey, understanding the mechanics behind these two composting methods will revolutionize how you think about soil health. So, which method truly reigns supreme for your garden? That's exactly what we're about to discover together. Let's start with cold composting, often affectionately called the pile it and forget it approach. This method is essentially nature's way of doing things, mimicking what happens on a forest floor where leaves, twigs, and organic debris slowly break down over time without any human intervention. In cold composting, you're creating a system where mesophilic bacteria, along with fungi, earthworms, and countless soil insects, work together at ambient temperatures, typically staying below 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This diverse community of decomposers operates at their own pace, slowly but steadily transforming your kitchen scraps, yard waste, and other organic materials into something truly magical. The beauty of cold composting lies in its simplicity and forgiveness. You don't need to worry about precise carbon-to-nitrogen ratios, you don't need to turn your pile every few days, and you certainly don't need to monitor temperatures with a thermometer. You can add materials as they become available throughout the seasons, creating layers of organic matter that gradually settle and decompose. This makes it incredibly accessible for busy gardeners, those with physical limitations, or anyone who simply prefers a more hands-off approach to their garden maintenance. However, patience is the key word here. Cold composting operates on nature's timeline, which means you're looking at anywhere from 6 months to well over a year before you have finished compost ready to use. During this extended time frame, the pile remains at lower temperatures, which means it won't kill weed seeds, disease pathogens, or parasites that might be lurking in your organic materials. If you've added weeds that have gone to seed or diseased plant material, you could inadvertently be creating problems for your future garden beds. Additionally, the slower decomposition process can sometimes attract unwanted visitors like rodents or raccoons who see your pile as an all-you-can-eat buffet. Here's where cold composting really shines and why many experienced gardeners swear by it despite the longer wait time. The slower, lower-temperature decomposition process excels at preserving nutrients that might otherwise be lost to the atmosphere. When organic matter breaks down gradually without intense heat, nitrogen remains stable within the decomposing materials, rather than volatilizing as ammonia gas and disappearing into thin air. This means more of the valuable nutrients from your inputs end up in your finished compost, rather than being lost during the process. Perhaps even more importantly, cold composting is exceptionally effective at creating humus, which is the stable, long-lasting form of organic matter that truly transforms soil quality. Humus is like the holy grail of soil amendments because it doesn't just provide nutrients, it fundamentally improves soil structure, dramatically increases moisture retention, enhances microbial life, and creates a reservoir of nutrients that plants can access over many growing seasons. Some gardeners who've tested their produce have reported that vegetables grown in soil amended with properly managed cold compost achieve higher Brix levels, which is a measurement of sugar concentration that often correlates with nutrient density and flavor. Now, let's turn up the heat, literally. Hot composting is the active scientific approach to creating compost, and it's all about managing conditions to create a bacterial bonfire that consumes organic matter at an astonishing rate. When you build a hot compost pile correctly, you're orchestrating a specific sequence of microbial activity. Initially, mesophilic bacteria colonize your fresh pile and begin breaking down the easily accessible compounds, generating heat as a byproduct of their metabolic activity. As temperatures climb, these give way to thermophilic bacteria, the real workhorses of hot composting, which thrive in temperatures between 130 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit. This intense heat serves multiple purposes beyond just speeding up decomposition. At these elevated temperatures, the chemical reactions that break down organic matter accelerate dramatically. In fact, decomposition speed roughly doubles with every 10 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. Even more importantly for garden health, maintaining temperatures in this range for several consecutive days effectively sanitizes your compost, killing off harmful pathogens, parasites, and those pesky weed seeds that would otherwise survive to plague your garden beds. Creating successful hot compost requires understanding and managing four critical elements: the right balance of materials, proper moisture levels, adequate aeration, and sufficient volume. The carbon-to-nitrogen ratio is particularly crucial. You're aiming for roughly 3 parts carbon-rich brown materials, like dried leaf straw, or cardboard to 1 part nitrogen-rich green materials, like fresh grass clippings, kitchen scraps, or manure. This ratio provides the perfect fuel mixture for your thermophilic bacteria to generate and sustain those high temperatures. Moisture management is equally important because your microbes need water to function, but too much will create anaerobic conditions that lead to a smelly, slimy mess. You're aiming for the moisture level of a wrung-out sponge throughout your pile. Aeration might be the most labor-intensive requirement because you need to turn your pile every few days to introduce oxygen and to move materials from the cooler outer edges into the hot core where decomposition is most active. This frequent turning is what separates hot composting from its cold counterpart, and why it demands significantly more time and physical effort. The payoff for all this work is speed and volume. A well-managed hot compost system can produce finished compost in as little as 3 weeks to 3 months, allowing you to process large amounts of organic waste and generate substantial quantities of compost when you need it most. While hot composting produces excellent compost quickly, there are some potential trade-offs regarding nutrient retention. The intense heat and rapid microbial activity can lead to some nutrient volatilization if conditions aren't carefully managed. Nitrogen is particularly vulnerable. If your pile becomes too hot, exceeds optimal moisture levels, or doesn't have proper aeration, nitrogen can escape as ammonia or nitrous oxide gases. A properly maintained hot compost pile that's turned regularly, kept at appropriate moisture levels, and doesn't overheat will retain most of its nutrients and produce a high-quality soil amendment that dramatically improves soil fertility. So which method should you choose? The answer genuinely depends on your unique situation, resources, and gardening goals. Space is often the first consideration. Hot composting typically requires a larger initial volume to generate and maintain the necessary heat, usually at least 1 cubic meter of material, while cold composting can work with smaller, more casual accumulations of organic matter. Time commitment is another crucial factor. Hot composting demands regular attention, requiring you to turn your pile every 3 to 5 days and monitor moisture levels. Cold composting can largely take care of itself once you understand the basics, making it ideal for gardeners who travel frequently, have physically demanding schedules, or simply prefer spending their garden time on other activities. Your gardening goals and timeline matter tremendously as well. Are you someone who needs finished compost by spring to amend beds before planting season, making the rapid turnaround of hot composting essential, or are you building long-term soil health and willing to wait for that nutrient-dense, humus-rich product that cold composting excels at producing? Here's the truth that experienced gardeners eventually discover: there's no single best composting method because the optimal choice depends entirely on your individual needs and circumstances. Cold composting offers convenience, minimal effort, superior nutrient retention, and exceptional humus development, making it perfect for patient gardeners focused on long-term soil building. Hot composting delivers speed, sanitization, high-volume output, and the satisfaction of actively managing a complex biological process, making it ideal for those who need compost quickly or have specific sanitation concerns. Many seasoned gardeners actually employ both methods strategically, running a hot pile during peak growing season, when they generate lots of material and need rapid processing, while maintaining a cold pile year-round for slower accumulation of kitchen scraps and smaller amounts of yard waste. The most important takeaway is this: Any composting is better than no composting. Whether you choose the patient path of cold composting or the intensive journey of hot composting, you're transforming waste into a resource, building soil health, sequestering carbon, and creating a more sustainable and productive garden ecosystem. If you found this deep dive valuable, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss our practical gardening insights. Share this video with your fellow gardeners who might be wondering about their composting options, and drop a comment below telling us which method you use. Are you team cold compost, team hot compost, or do you run both systems? Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember that every garden tells a story. Happy composting, smart garden family.